I give away a lot of my child's stuff on FB Marketplace for free when they outgrow it. The amount of parents that expect me to deliver it to them for free is astounding. By user your new bestest friend. Whenever my child outgrows something, I try to give it to another family that needs it. I usually clean the item up and post it with pickup only in a generalized area of where I live. Usually with everything I post I get at least one person message me a sob story about how they don't have a car and they ask me to deliver it. I don't deliver because I'm already trying to do a nice thing by giving away stuff that I could easily sell. I've given away high chairs, bouncers, ride-on cars and once an entire kids' outdoor play castle with a slide. I had one woman ask me to deliver it and then get mad at me because I refused to put the castle on hold for her because she was going to ask around to see if someone she knew could come get it. She then demanded to know if I had any other kids' things I could give her for free because I wasted her time. Right now I'm trying to give away overnight pull-up diapers. It's half a pack sealed. It's free, it says what area I'm close to so people can decide if it's too far to drive to get it before they message me. I got one person message me asking where I live. I gave them the general area and they said, oh no, it's too far, I don't have a car but I really want this, can you drop it off? I live in town that is 45 minutes away from me. I told them I wasn't planning on driving to that town anytime soon and asked for gas money and they replied I thought they were free, it would be cheaper for me to just go buy diapers, I don't have a car so I was hoping you'd bring them to me. It's always with the kids' stuff I give away for free. I'm tired of being treated like I'm an asshole for not wanting to drive all over the place to deliver stuff for free. I'm trying to be nice but I'm not a fucking charity. M leaves her babies at the library then yells at us when she can't find them, by user Librarian. This seems like the right place for this one, happened about 20 years ago so no actual conversation included. On mobile so standard warnings apply. As you can guess from my Reddit name, I used to work in a library. One afternoon, we had a woman come in and approach the desk, looking somewhat frazzled. She asked if we'd seen her babies who she'd left there a couple of hours previously. None of us had, and said so. Of course, this set her off. How could we be so careless when we knew there were kids here, why wasn't someone keeping an eye on them, etc., etc. The noise drew the manager from her office, and she told the woman that the sign out front says library, not daycare. So of course this woman goes and calls the police. On us. For neglecting the kids that she left there. Once the police arrive and start trying to figure things out, they called the woman's house. Turns out her babies were 14 and 16, had gotten tired of waiting for mom to come pick them up, and decided to walk home. Can't remember what happened from there, sorry, but I also don't remember ever seeing her again. ETA, based on comments and my own experience, sounds like a lot of us loved our libraries. Usually, that's not a problem until you get one of those parents who think libraries equals free daycare. Have had that happen too, although it wasn't the case this time. But the woman constantly referring to her babies had us thinking she dropped off a couple of toddlers or something, not teens. There was no problem with responsible kids being alone at the library. My entitled stepmom let my stepsister break my birthday present before I got it. Then tried to take the replacement back, by user item model trains. Sorry if there's any mistakes, I'll fix them if I find any. I posted the first part of this on r/Amit asshole and I think it'll fit better here. The second part is kind of a part 2. I, 14M, really like steam trains and my favorites are from Britain. My parents are divorced and both my mom and dad got remarried. My stepmom has 2 daughters from another marriage, Kelly, who's 18, and Anne, who's 9. When I was 12 I started mowing lawns and walking dogs so I could get some money and start collecting models. Since there's so many different models out there in so many liveries, I decided to limit myself to preserved locomotives in the liveries they're preserved in, and unique locomotives. This Christmas, my mom and stepdad surprised me with 4 out of the 6 preserved A4s, Mallard, Bittern, Union of South Africa and Dominion of Canada. On my birthday, January 14th, I asked my mom, stepdad, dad and stepmom for the remaining 2 A4s, Dwight D. Eisenhower and Sir Nigel Gressley, and my mom and stepdad got me Sir Nigel Gressley and the rebuilt W1. I went to my dad's the next day and saw my dad, stepmom, and stepsisters. I opened my gifts and when I was done my dad went and brought another bag out. I pulled out the tissue paper and there was a model train inside. I pulled it out but before I could look at it, the model fell out. I looked at the box and the back was ripped out. I showed my dad and he looked confused when stepmom chimed in, oh, Anne threw a tantrum so I let her play with that last week. I looked at the model and the paint was all scratched and the side rods were bent. One of the axles was cracked too. I was really pissed that Anne did so much damage and my stepmom just put it back into the box. I was pissed since I don't have much there and the little bit of stuff I do have there, Anne's broken. I angrily asked, why do you let her break everything of mine? And my stepmom said, just get over it already. I snapped, said I will when you stop letting Anne be so spoiled and start being a better parent. That pissed her off and she called me an ungrateful asshole. I asked my dad to take me home and he did. I talked to my dad a little on the ride home and he said he would get me replacement. He came with a replacement today after school with stepmom and Anne. I thanked them and my dad made Anne apologize. I felt kind of awkward because I had nothing to talk about, so I asked if they wanted to watch me run it in. They came to my room and my stepmom saw the other 5 A4s and the W1. The W1 got rebuilt with an A4 boiler so they look similar, and started to flip out that I wasted their money and she tried to take the model from me. My mom and stepdad came in before she could grab it and asked what happened, and my stepmom told them that I wasted their money because I already have models like the one they got me. My mom tried to explain that it looks similar because it's part of the same class, but my stepmom wasn't having it. My stepmom tried to grab it again but my stepdad intervened and kicked them out. My stepmom started to make a scene but my dad seemed embarrassed and quickly said let's just go, and grabbed Anne and my stepmom's hands and pulled them to the car. Karen's sister rebranded gifts I bought for my nephews as being from Santa, by user not Santa throwaway. This happened during Christmas last year. My older sister has always been a handful, one might say. She would generally act entitled, but then when someone makes her back off, she goes back to acting normal for a while before starting it all over. She got married a decade ago and has 2 young sons that are 5 and 6. And every year she makes sure there's something extra under the tree from Santa for them. Which we're all fine with. But Christmas of 2021 she did something that blew my mind. The Christmas Eve gatherings with the whole family are usually held at my grandparents' house. That way the individual families have their personal celebrations on Christmas Day with their own kids, or with families of SOS or spouses. Last year I was worried I might not make it to the Christmas Eve party as I was away on some personal matters. So I shipped the presents I got for relatives pre-wrapped in a large box to my grandparents' house just in case. But I did manage to make it home the day before Christmas Eve by driving through several states. Everything went well, and we had the big dinner with both turkey and ham. I am real sucker for the turkey. Then came time for gifts. We draw straws for who passes around the gifts among the younger members of the family, and my 15-year-old cousin pulled the short straw. Everything was good until the presents I got for my nephews were passed to them. All the presents I sent in advance used the same wrapping paper. So it was pretty obvious after a while which ones were from me. But when the 2 boys got the ones I gave them, my sister pointed to new name labels on them both that were clearly pasted over the ones I'd put on them and exclaimed they were from Santa. Which made the 2 boys eagerly open them and shout with glee. I was pretty angry, and my sister saw it on my face. She pulled me aside to talk and I asked her what the hell she thought she was doing. She beat around the bush for a moment and said that since she thought I wasn't going to make it to Christmas that year, that it would have been better if the kids thought the gifts were from Santa. I was furious and yelled at her. That caught the attention of my grandmother, who also knew what happened. She begged me to keep quiet about the false Santa gifts, but I blew up over her wanting to rug sweep. And that attracted half the family into the kitchen to ask what all the yelling was about. My sister tried to say something, but I spoke over her that she'd rebranded the gifts I got for my nephews as being from Santa. My grandfather looked at her and said, "Is this true?" My sister looked emotional and then did what she usually did when called out on something this bad. She started sobbing like a little kid and crouched down on the floor to have a pity party. Between sobs she kept trying to defend herself. But the only one that was buying into her act was my grandmother, who only made more excuses like what my sister said. They thought I wasn't going to be there. It was for the sake of the children. Etc. etc. My grandfather was unfazed though. And he along with several other members of the family said that she needed to make it up to me for this. Because that means the boys technically got nothing from me that they know of when I clearly gave them nice expensive gifts that now they won't know ever came from me just because of what my sister did. My grandmother finally backed off and briefly sided with the rest of us before going out to the living room to watch the kids. I then had an idea and said that I will give each of my nephews $50 bills from my wallet. And I expect to be paid that money back and get paid back for the gifts that were no longer from me because my sister had commandeered them. My brother-in-law sighed and agreed. Then dragged my sister to the garage to have words with her. I gave my nephews each a crisp $50 bill and told them to buy whatever they like with it. My sister spent the rest of the evening almost silent. No more tears or anything. Just silent. She may as well have been a mannequin on display or something. And before I left, my brother-in-law promised my sister will personally pay me back. I thought I was gonna have to wait a good while to get the money back. But yesterday my sister and brother-in-law came knocking at my door and my sister meekly handed me an envelope with $200 in it and apologized to me. She started to make more excuses for what she did when brother-in-law told her to just stop. Because what she did was a crummy thing and she knows there was no excuse for it. So she just apologized one more time and walked back to their car loudly sniffling on a tissue. My brother-in-law told me the $200 came from out of my sister's account. And that was basically her fun money for this month. And maybe having a leaner month will teach her a lesson. Probably not though. Edit sorry I forgot to include my gender in this. I'm a guy in my early 30s. Edit 2 I'm getting tired of so many messages from people talking about how I should have let the situation go. And that in their family branding gifts for the kids as being from Santa is normal. Newsflash for you people. Your family is not mine. My parents never did Santa gifts. Hardly any of my relatives ever did either. The only ones who really do anymore are my sister and Bill. And someone also pointed out a great fact. To get gifts from Santa on Christmas Eve, Santa would have to be a day early. I played along just enough that nothing was ruined for my nephews. And some acted like what I did was out of validation or competition. It wasn't. It was to teach my sister a lesson. I try to give to all kids in my close family equally on Christmas Eve, and I never outshine their parents on any gifts. And because of my sister's narcissistic logic, the 2 presents from me to my nephews were made to be no longer from me. So I gave each of the kids $50, which was the value of the things I'd gotten them. RC cars if anyone was wondering. Also, if any of you actually knew my sister like I do, practically none of you aside from trolls would stick up for what she did with the presents. 30+ years I've dealt with her antics. So here's a taste of what she did to me. She shaved part of my head in my sleep when I was 16. Had to have the rest of my head shaved before going back to school. She physically attacked me for not getting her way many times. It wasn't until I actually fought back hard enough that I almost badly hurt her that she finally stopped laying her hands on me. After that she switched tactics to emotional abuse and terrible pranks. One of the things she did was to sign my name up for various adult magazines. And I mean the really creepy gross ones. And they were not only sent to where I lived, but also to my parents and numerous other relatives. Which made them question why they were getting magazines for that crap with my name on them in their mail. I only found out it was my sister that did that because one of her friends came forward and told us. And my sister reacted by throwing a huge fit over how she'd ruined her best prank and cut out said friend. Said friend is now my friend. And we even briefly dated. My sister also passed my number and picture around town telling people I was gay. Which made my phone blow up with calls and texts from people who were looking for a good time. I had to have my number changed like 5 times to make it stop. My sister also signed my email up for crazy things too. Had to repeatedly change my email because she kept somehow getting it. The only way I got that shit to finally stop was by threatening to tell Bill what she was really like when they were dating. She was actually mad at me for ruining her fun. Then she put on a complete nice girl act and married Bill. Whom we all managed to convince to get a prenup before marrying her. So my sister switching the tags on the gifts for my nephews to be from Santa was just the latest in a long line of her shit. Shit that I won't stand for. If I'd let it slide, she most certainly would have done it again, and kept doing so till someone made her stop. I had to stop it now. Otherwise it would have kept going. Some have stated that I'm too angry. Let's see you go through everything I just listed and not be angry. I've been to both therapy and counseling. They actually found my anger towards my sister justifiable because they were appalled when I unloaded on them all of the things my sister did. Especially since I only let that anger out when she does something bad to me anymore. I could be angry all the time or every time I see her. But I am not. Just angry when she makes me angry. I kissed my partner, and my dad freaked out, by user worldly_king_755. So I'm a non-binary 15-year-old, and my partner is a 15-year-old gender fluid. We're both born female. Yesterday I had my birthday party and I invited my partner. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie away from my family because neither me nor my partner would be good with a group of people. I went to kiss my partner, and then I noticed. My dad was standing behind me. My partner and I were terrified because he is homophobic. Later, he started yelling at me, saying this needed to stop and how it was a sin and that I was going to hell for doing that. I told my partner, and we both started crying. I hate to see my partner upset and hurt. What should I do? Edit. My dad and I have been avoiding each other. I still see my partner cause we go to the same school. Also, please stop calling me a girl, I'm non-binary and use they/them pronouns. Also, for the people wondering, non-binary is that I don't fit in with male or female, and gender fluid is your gender can change throughout the day. I'll keep making edits if things change. Also, the reason my partner and I were on the couch away from everyone was because I get really bad anxiety around people and my partner was calming me down.